highlighted on the front page of the Sunday Chattanooga Time-Free Press. And there, as we read the 40-page report about Chattanooga 2.0, we have a maintenance of the barbed wire, the concertina wire, around this part of the marketplace, which is to say education or schooling. And there is no reference that I could tell in a quick scan of the document that major reforms are in order that favor marketplace solutions. And so there is no disarmament in view. And the disarmament would be the removal of the teeth of the current regime. The current regime is held up by law. It is based in the Constitution of our state that enables for there to be a free system of public education. And that system is kept in place by taxation and at the county level and of course at the city level in many jurisdictions, and also by the compulsory attendance statute, which is thought needed to enforce the free system of public education. In other words, we have a free benefit, and we are going to compel your children to attend it if you don't have an alternative means and can't find yourself exempted or exempt yourself from the machinery of this grinding molar system that grinds up the marketplace and I would like to suggest spits out children at the end of it. Well, disarmament is not in view elsewhere in the federal slum for blacks, the Emma Wheeler homes, where on Saturday, police shot down a man who was acting erratically, a man, in fact, who had called police and was making statements that were disconcerting, perhaps making comments that seemed a little bit disturbed. So police came out in force, and there was, as a result, perhaps, of their arrival, an escalation which ended in 2 barrages of bullets. One barrage brought Javario Eagle, or Javario, I guess is how it's. TV3 has a little pronunciation guide on its story, and it says it's Javario. I would say it's Javario, but I'm not a Spanish speaker, so I'm not sure if that's correct. But Javario or Javario Eagle is dead, shot down. The second barrage came when he was already on the ground. He was already in the grass between 2 blockhouses that are the part of the Emma Wheeler domestic arrangements. And he was mortally wounded, probably, I don't know which barrage mortally wounded him, but one or the other mortally wounded him. And then guess what? Then Mr. Eagle was handcuffed amid the blood and taken away to Erlanger Hospital, whereupon he died. And the story has been, I think, very well covered by TV3. The Chattanooga Time-Free Press has a good story of that killing on the front page of Sunday's editions, and the matter bears some consideration. It bears some consideration, and of course, I'm here reading as your analyst of the news, and you're the man who helps you get caught up. Right, that's what I do here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, getting our reporting in Chattanooga, and trying to see it in a way that's fresh. Try to see the material, the fact base, if you will, in a fresh way. Now, I've taken the trouble to take the best of the material that has been published in the past day and boil it down at a brief story at Nooganomics.com. And I am, by the way, the editor of that domain, that platform. I think that's the number 7 platform in Chattanooga. It is intended for the people who matter. So, of course, it's not going to ever be number 1. It's not that it won't be popular in that sense at all. But the story is that that Mr. Eagle, who's a father of 2 children and has either a girlfriend or a wife, made a phone call to the police department, and he's, according to the press release as boiled down by WRCB TV, he made unusual demands. That's the phrase. Kind of remarkable comments. He placed a call and made unusual demands. In the meantime, as police arrived, there were witness reports of at least 1 gunshot that sounded apparently from within the dwelling of that apartment at Emma Wheeler homes. Now, the Chief Fletcher gives an interview. He has comments, brief comments on the police department Twitter page, and also gives an interview in which he says at least one witness has reported that the bad guy, the suspect, leveled a weapon towards officers at least 2 times. Officers did not engage him those times. Again, he makes that comment to point out that the policeman could have shot at that time. They could have shot the first aiming of this weapon at any one of their members, but they showed admirable restraint. That's how we're supposed to take that. It wasn't until they were rescuing the child and the armed suspect moved dangerously towards officers that they finally discharged their weapons. TV3 had one of the stations had a report that the whole thing was just, in a way, it was kind of sickening because it couched the whole story in terms of the police, their language, including the abstract way that, as opposed to the dramatic way, right? And instead of dramatic and telling about the pulling of the triggers and the barrage of bullets and the roar across the neighborhood, you have this police enforcement took action, that kind of thing. It's very abstract, very kind of mechanical and administrative language describing what happened. There's a video by a family member, and hearing the comments of Letitia Pullins, who's a cousin, is remarkable. There's a load of bad language, a load of the F word, I think the MF and S, and get your ass over here and put that gun down. There are 1,000 police out here. She's shouting at her relation across the way. Chief Fletcher says, at some point, the suspect exited the apartment. He'd come in and out several times, armed with a handgun and a knife, and also in possession of that small child. Now, of course, to say that he is in possession of that small child makes it look very dim and bad that somehow that there's a girl with him. He's not taking his daughter out. He's in possession of that small child. This is her dad. TV3 says video shot moments after the shooting show officers rendering aid to Eagle. Well, from what I could tell, they weren't rendering him aid at all. They were not crouching around him to care for him. They were crouching around him suspiciously, and one looks like is putting on handcuffs on this man who's already shot several times, and no doubt there is blood at several points on his clothing. The cousin says he didn't have any weapons aimed at the police or nothing. She says he did what he was supposed to do. He put his hands up and he didn't resist arrest or nothing, she says. And the detail about him being handcuffed was at the bottom of one of the story. I put that fact at the top of my recounting of this SWAT event. This was a SWAT event that did not bring the armored car to the scene. Very, very great restraint by the police department there. And but there were probably 15 cars. And as this man is shot dead or shot down and lying on the ground, he's rushed. There are about 15, it looks like maybe 10 blue-clad members of the executive branch rushing toward him, and police said during the rescue of the child, the armed suspect moved aggressively toward the officer, the small child, while brandishing the weapons. Officers on scene used corresponding force to subdue the suspect. That's the way of saying they aimed their guns at this man, pulled the trigger, and bullets entered into his person. And any that missed, of course, hit nearby buildings, which, of course, had people in them. This, of course, is taking place in a very populated area. This exciting gunplay by the police department of this man who was having, evidently, an episode of some kind, an episode of anger. Perhaps he had not taken his medication, or perhaps he was on some kind of illicit medication. The mother of this man who was shot down says, he was already down. That made them, for the love of Christ, even if they serve a God, would make them run over there and overtly, I think the word is, kill my son and shoot him up like that. Her name is Katina Eagle Dunnigan, and her quote is in Josh Roden's story. And as for whether a man would kill his own daughter, well, we have to I think presume that generally doesn't happen, And he loved her. The grandmother of the little girl said he loved her. Every picture, every video you see him and his child, he would not do anything to harm his child. My son is dead, but you've got him in handcuffs anyway, like an animal. And I don't understand that. Well, again, this is a picture of the teeth, right? We have in Chattanooga a love of the teeth. We have, I think, here what we don't have is we don't have a love of local economy and the free market, because those would say, well, there may be sometimes when teeth are necessary, but to shoot a man in a highly populated area. A man who's probably not going to hit anything, even if he pulls the trigger, he's not going to hit anything, right? Even if he fires, firing a pistol is extraordinarily difficult. And even if you're highly trained, it's hard to hit something, especially at 150, 200 feet. And here they were, these officers all crouching behind their cars, in fear of their lives, of course. And the moment he aimed that third time in their general direction, or maybe at one of them, they let loose barrage. And so they are safe. Officers are safe. No officer was injured. No officer was shot at even. Apparently, Javario Eagle did not manage to pull the trigger on his weapon in his moment of distraught, or his moment of distress. He was distraught. My name is David Tulis, and we're here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And we are brought to you by a great restaurant, Armando's in Hickson, where you find terrific burgers and fries. A lot of the wonderful American fare that we all love, and I eat that kind of fare, burgers and fries, when I'm treating myself. I don't eat out a great deal, but when I do, I often have just the most humdrum things. But if you get your American fare at Armando's in Hickson, it'll be terrific, and you'll enjoy yourself. Anthony Johnson is there to wait on you, and he's at the Chester Frost Park entrance near the new Thrasher Light. Catfish, BLTs, pecan pie, hot steaming coffee, milkshakes. He sells tons of milkshakes out at Armando's in Hickson. Do stop by. We think that if you, my listener, love local economy, you'll patronize local over national. That you'll patronize the SP, right? The sole proprietorship, the local business, as opposed to the chain store, right? That represents the consumer debt-riddled and increasingly impotent national economy that marches ahead only on advertising and has no connection in many ways in its retail outlets, no connection to people here in Chattanooga. They're just here to skim what we've got, to sell us something we don't need, and to prosper the shareholders in faraway places. If you have air conditioning problems or heater problems, make sure you contact Superior Air Systems in the big orange vans. Bill Keith and his crew in those orange vans, all about in Superior Air Systems. Go orange, 886-6602, 886-6602. Our slogan, if we have one, is love your neighbor and buy locally. That's not trademark. You can use that anytime. You can also use one of my own words. I think I'm the originator of this, but I hope I'm not. I hope somebody better than me came ahead of me with the word, and that's nougacentrism. We are nougacentric, which means that somehow we believe that Chattanooga is the center of the whole universe, and we look suspiciously at good people and benefactors, right? Benefactors out of Washington and out of Nashville. I think that they're not really benefactors, and so we are suspicious of their benefits and the free money, because we know that there are always strings attached, even though the filaments are sometimes very, very small, hardly visible. They may be thin and whimsy like, but there are many of them. And so if you take that first dollar from the good people, that first buck, you belong to them, and don't forget it, because you are now going to be operating in a completely different realm than where the free man operates, right? The free man operates under the protections of the Constitution, but you, wanting to benefit, enter into another realm, and that is called the realm of administrative law. It's something that you think, well, how boring can you get? That is the most boring thing I've ever heard. Well, I understand that it's boring, but that's because it's so boring. People don't enter into that idea and enter into that understanding with gusto. In fact, they can't see it. There's something that's really kind of invisible. The fact that when you become a dependent and a petitioner, you follow all the rules down to the detail. You become more so one who is likely to be guilty of 3 felonies a day. That's just, by the way, the name of a great legal history that I read last year by a constitutional attorney who's defended many people, including gang members and so-called crooked politicians, right? And who Harvey Silverglate is his name, who says that there's so many rules and laws that we can all be presumed guilty of 3 felonies a day. Kind of a shocking thing to consider. Well, my name is David Tulis, and the Barbs are there with Chief Fletcher and his machinery, his executive machinery, where mercy is extended. Right, we held fire twice when he aimed his gun directly at us, but then we had to let loose. We had to meet equal force with equal force, and kill a man who was having some kind of distraught episode, and who could have been talked down. What would have happened? Here's a way that Chief Fletcher could consider community policing. What if Chief Fletcher, whose face is widely recognized, had worn shorts and a t-shirt and a ball cap and tennis shoes with low cut socks, and walked across the lot there, across the grass, and just held his hands up and said, can I talk with you for a few minutes? Well, what would he have been doing? He would have been taking his life in his own hands, because there was, as the police thought, uncertainty about the motives of this man. And Chief Fletcher would have had with him in his hand, he would have been holding the hands of Javario's cousin. He would have been holding her hand, and they would have been walking, one hand free up in the air, and the gunman's cousin holding tears back in her hand being held by Chief Fletcher, walking up to the door and say, can we talk for a sec? Just, by the way, hand me that gun there while we talk. That requires courage, but it also demands respect. A man who approaches a person like that, having an episode of some kind, without a weapon, without the military gear, without the full regalia of his stars and his epaulets and his honors and all that, the webbing, the gun, the ammo clip, the handcuffs. An officer who approaches a man unarmed gains respect. Now, I think that there would be tremendous respect that police would gain from gang members, if we're going to talk about gang members for a minute, if they would not be armed. Is it time for demilitarization in Chattanooga? Well, local economy would like to suggest that it is. Local economy would like to suggest that it is time to consider, as the page 1 story in the Times Free Press a couple days ago suggested, disarmament of the police. Disarming the police would change the relationship between gang members and the state. It would change the relationship between the public and the state, and there would be a de-escalation all around of violence. I would like to suggest that. And what I would like to do is find Black gospel ministers who love the Lord Jesus and who see only the standard perception of this problem. And that is, we need to have reform in police. We need to have understanding. We need to have a civilian committee overlooking police affairs. Well, that may be. And those things may prove beneficial if they come to pass. But I suggest that we have the Black Christian church, starting there, demand disarmament, demand de-escalation. And then we have families who are already de-escalating in the state sector of education. There, the Barbs are the tax on property and the compulsory attendance statute and the taxation of the whole economy to pay half the state budget goes to pay for this cartel that does not have to meet client needs or the needs of individual students. And that is the public school system, the factory school system. Their demilitarization would say, okay, we're going to have competition. We're not going to let you enjoy the benefit of your molars and your incisor teeth, because that's the force, that's the thread that keeps your system afloat. You have the legacy system, and we want you to compete in the marketplace. We're going to cut your money off in 6 years, okay? We got a plan to cut your money down to zero in 6 years. You better convert. We better sell off assets. We better find a way for the marketplace to provide services to families who need these services and can't afford to pay the taxes and educational services. De-escalation, demilitarization. And my name is David Tulis, and I do thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes of your time.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a breezy and wet start to your Monday with showers and thunder showers marching through, diminishing after lunchtime, highs lower to middle 60s. Tonight, clearing out, cooling down, overnight lows 43 to 46. For Tuesday, a beautiful day, sunshine, highs mid-60s, near 65 again on Wednesday. Old Man Winter's coming back soon, so keep you and your family toasty warm all season long with the largest selection of cold weather clothing around. That's Dodge City Ski Shop, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. CBS Radio News brought to you by Kubota. You can count on Kubota to help you get the toughest jobs done with ease, comfort, and efficiency. Whether you need a compact tractor, zero-turn mower, or diesel utility vehicle, let Kubota help you get your work done. Find your local Kubota dealer at TennesseeKubotaDealers.com.
At Kubota, there's only one thing we're selling. Great tractors.
Lay your burdens down at the Woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming life.
Happy holidays
At the Woodhouse.
from the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at Chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road, between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5Preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. New questions cropping up in the San Bernardino attack investigation. They concern the fiancé visa screening process involving Tashin Malik, one of those accused in the attacks.
According to the reporting of the New York Times over the weekend, prior to being given that visa, she had posted several times on social media about her support for jihad and about wanting to be a part of jihad.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt in San Bernardino. Flooding, power outages, and property damage. The story of much of North Texas after severe weekend storms. In Lindale, Ashley Ford was at a Christmas party when a tornado hit.
We're just shocked to see all the damage and all our friends and neighbors. We got really lucky. I think it hit starting at the house beside us.
The twister damaged 40 homes. In California, forecasters say a strong El Nino weather system could drench the state and other parts of the West in the coming months. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
When local economy is owned by the civil government, its definition is expansive. Look at Fort Worth, Texas. There's a story out of WFAA.com about, which is a television station that tells about Rosie Ridge Farm facing fines. Now, Rosie Ridge Farm is many miles, about 35 or 40 miles from Fort Worth, but Fort Worth has an expansive definition of local economy. And so it's reaching out across a couple of counties and finding this farm for its very clean and raw milk operation, according to Eldon Hooley. He is the operator, and that's what he sells, very clean, raw milk. People are really wanting to get back to real food again, he says. But somehow his milk ended up in Fort Worth, Texas, and he is being accused of distributing unfit food and operating an illegal food establishment. I've never delivered anything to Fort Worth, he says. When it leaves the farm, it's bought and paid for and in the hands of the consumer. Some of those consumers have taken Hooley's product and funneled it into food co-ops in Fort Worth. So now he's being harassed under an updated ordinance, which says to clarify that it is the distribution of raw milk and raw milk products which is prohibited regardless of the retail status. So the status is location and jurisdiction. And if you have a product in Fort Worth and your name is on the label, if Rosie Ridge Farm is on the label, which it is, in that case, well, we are going to come after you. So this, of course, is local economy is local. Okay. It doesn't reach out to other jurisdictions and impose its own rules upon other people. Local economy is gracious. Local economy is patient. Local economy, even you could say, is loving. If you read the scriptures, which I'm sure friends of yours who go to church did yesterday, they can read St. Paul's admonitions in his epistles about the Christian person, right? How he is supposed to be forbearing, he is supposed to overlook offenses, and while a town that in which a local economy exists might not like raw milk, it should live and let live. It should leave be, and not make a stink about. Here's a picture. If you're watching us on YouTube, here's a picture of the family that's involved in this bit of local economy harassment in Texas. A very wholesome looking family. They may be Mennonites of some kind. They have on the women head coverings to show submission to husbands or fathers. That's why women in Christianity wear head coverings, especially on the Lord's Day. Paul advises that women show their submission to their men by covering their hair. Men are, of course, without head coverings at worship because they are directly under God, and women are directly under men. So that's why in Christianity you have this system. So the Hooleys are the family. There are four, look like four very nice looking young women, age maybe 15 to 25. There's a small girl. There's a son who's wearing a similar collared costume as his dad. No doubt people who are very concerned about health and very, very personal approach to the economy. My name is David Tulis. We are brought to you by Ari's, the restaurant on the glittering side of Chickamauga Lake in Saudi Daisy. Ari's has a special, $19.95 for two, and there are 10 items on the menu that designed just for that. There's a lunch that starts at 11. There's a happy hour every day, and it's open most days of the week. It's a great restaurant. that has a distinctly Greek owner, and you need to make sure to look at the billboard. And here in Hickson, the number is 843-2800, 843-2800. Ari's fine eating establishment, if there ever was one. Also, we're brought to you by One Stop Package store in Saudi Daisy. It's a new store, a new beverage store. That's a package store is a euphemism for a joint that sells alcohol, right? So it's a one-stop package. It's a new store that has liquor, wines, all kinds of fine wines, and beer for your enjoyment. Just make sure that you are a prudent consumer thereof. And go to One Stop Package. It's in Saudi Daisy in the Sunshine Market Complex. That's a very kind of a glittering new gasoline store for bread and smokes and other things. And next to it is One Stop Package. It's a new store, brand new store in Saudi Daisy. If you enjoy adult beverages, make sure you try out One Stop Package. And there's 10% off, by the way, if you order or buy anything in the way of wines by the case. Wines by the case, 10% off. And also do me a favor, say that, hey, I heard about you on the radio. Or if you don't remember the name David Tulis, just say, hey, heard about you on the radio. And Raj would love to talk with you and hear about you. Well, we want to look at just for a minute at this idea of demilitarization and the whole realm of administrative law, which I've been thinking a lot about administrative law lately. And I've been working on a long paper, which is usable as a brief in court about this question. If you go to Nooganomics.com, you'll explore with me remarkable things. I've been kind of brought into this question by the gnome of Strawberry Plains. He is a carpenter, 71 years old. And just by the way, I had a conversation with him. I was asking him if he wanted to go with me to the trial of Jay Hirsch. Jay Hirsch is a musician, very devout Christian, and runs on the side a business that paints parking lots. He runs this business in Lawrence County, which is south of Nashville, along the Alabama border, just north of Ardmore, Alabama, which is, of course, just north of Huntsville. And he's going on trial December 22nd. And the issue, as we're trying to understand the issue, is driving on an expired or suspended license from another state. He's a man who does not drive with a license. He uses the public road as a matter of right under the Constitution. And so his 13-page motion to dismiss indictment in Circuit Court in Lawrence County brings up important issues. And I'd like to think that Jay Hirsch, thinks very much in this direction as I do. But I asked about this brief from the gnome, right? The gnome who says it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It'll just be run over. And the question is this defense appropriate? And does it defeat the indictment, or does it defeat he's not trying to quash the indictment at this point. He's trying to dismiss the case, which admits jurisdiction of the court. And I think might have been better to attack the indictment rather than seek dismissal. Because after all, if you admit the jurisdiction of the court, you're admitting that somehow something you've done or the issue involved is subject to this court's jurisdiction, which I would think is not. If you're exercising a constitutional right, you are not under any court's jurisdiction, even though it may have authority over your person because you're in the county. There has to be a cause for you to be brought there, right? The cause has to be a law, a violation of some kind of law. And here the driver's license statute in Tennessee does not make any free user of the road liable for performance. Now, you think, I've never heard that before. Well, it's true. I have written about this a good deal. And it's an issue of liberty that I'm not letting go of, because here we have a man facing trial. And here in our county even, we have Hispanics who drive without a license, and they drive actually more as men and women more free than you. Okay, they're more free than you because you're exercising your right to travel through license. You are in the administrative law realm. And so you are operating what I would call a government privilege, an arbitrary claim upon an activity imposed by deceit. against you, and you have been bluffed into thinking that you are the jurisdiction of the Department of Safety, and therefore you've applied for a driver's license. Everybody does it. It's a universal thing. Probably 0.001% of the population understand differently. In other words, they have this small group of people have the minority report, as I do. My position is no doubt the minority report, but I'm going too far on this point. I wanted to get back to something else, but if I get to it today, I want to discuss why it is that there has to be an administrative realm, and what happens when the administrative realm expands so much through the executive branch of our state that there's a tiny, tiny little sliver left of constitutional rights that a few people actually exercise. In other words, the balloon gets bigger and bigger, filling the room, as it were, and then along the edges, down along where the floorboards are, right, where the vent for the heating unit is, right there, you'll find a few people. They're exercising constitutional rights, not within that administrative realm of law, the balloon that's filled the room, right? They're living on the edges. So the question is, who are those people, and are they right? And is everybody else wrong? I suggest that the majority report is simply legally wrong. And I hope in the next few days to publish this brief. It's got footnotes, so it's kind of a problem to style a document like that on Nooganomics.com. But I know, you may read it. You, my listener, you're the man who matters. And so I want you just to say, well, here's an area I need to learn something about. And but I want to get back to that. But I have an analysis as to why we have this and why. And here, let me just tell you in a nutshell. In a nutshell, we have Tennessee state departments because the executive branch operates through these agencies, right? They execute the will of the state, and they execute ostensibly the will of the people. I'd say more the state than the people, but certainly they enforce statute, and they make the statute come to life, if you will, make government come to life, if you dare say that, for the executive branch. And their overreaches are, of course, always hammered back by either new statutes and revisions in code or court judgments, which offend their operation and force them into some kind of retreat. But they exist. Is this the short explanation? It sounds kind of a long one, but they exist. Administrative law and these agencies exist because constitutional rights are too much trouble to deal with. They are too difficult, too bristly, too naughty, too awkward for the state to have to deal with. And so what do? Well, you eliminate constitutional rights. You eliminate the population's rights to travel by bluff and deception and custom and harassment and advertising. And then no one bothers with having constitutional rights. And I discussed this in some detail at Nooganomics.com. That is the website for the man who matters. It's called Nooga, right? Nooganomics.com. And I posted just a day ago or so a story about Mr. Hirsch. Jay Hirsch is his name, the musician and the devout Christian. But I want to get to this question about Chattanooga 2.0, and I want to do that because if we love local economy and we love the free market and we love wealth, right? The creation of wealth, the creation and encouragement of genius. Why do we have a state factory school in our county? Why do we rely on Nashville and the tax system and the expertise of the people in the Department of Education to give us something that evidently we can't do ourselves, right? We are incapable of educating our own children. We don't have knowledge to do that. We are simply mystified by the process in which you or your wife convey things of value and notions of interest and exciting curiosity to your children on the basis of, on the topic of, in the context of books, stories, films, projects, writings, and the arts. These are the basis upon which education takes place. Good books, right? I live in a house full of books. My wife Jeanette being a bibliophile, and I've got one or two of my own. And so we think about things together as a couple. And here we have the establishment is trying to figure out the answer, right? In Chattanooga 2.0, here's the first page. I couldn't find it by Googling it, but I went to the Chattanooga Times Free Press page, And when I downloaded the copy from the TFP website, I got the front page looks okay, but it's all garbled. The whole 40 pages that I printed out is just gibberish. So I'm not sure what to do. And when I got here to the studio to try to digest these pages in 10 minutes, I found myself blocked. So here I am relying for part of my analysis on the executive summary. But there's nothing in the executive summary to suggest that the marketplace is seen as a virtue, as seen as a solution to an insoluble, meaning an unsolvable, right, problem. The problems we have are the state context for education and schooling. And so the solutions have to arise therein. You can't have a solution that's outside of that framework. And that's because these people are progressives. And what I really kind of liked seeing was the people who were endorsing this effort. And I think this reference is in the I'm not looking at this. I didn't see this in the report, but I'm relying here on endorsers to date. Who are the people in Chattanooga who endorse the status quo? Who are they? Well, you think that EPB, which is a government utility, is a division of city government. You'd think that EPB, with all of its gig hoopla, would be the first to say, we need to get past the legacy system, right? We need to get past having geographic centralization of students. That with the gig, we can all be in our own houses, we can all be in our own clubs, our own favorite cafes, and have school there. Why do we have to go into a setting where there has to be mass shooter practices, as there was a couple of days ago at I think Lookout Mountain Elementary School? I don't have the printout here in front of me, but somewhere in our area, right? Somewhere in your area where you know people who go there, whose children go there. Well, who are the people who support this Chattanooga 2.0? Well, EPB is one of them. So EPB effectively is saying that we need to have continuing marketing for the status quo. We need to have the school system serve the interests of business. Well, that's what we've had for at least 120 years, well more than that, but at least since the progressive era. Schooling has been a mechanism whereby the barons of industry, the barons of finance and commerce have used the system of public schools to direct the creation of a kind of person. This is a person who is not the entrepreneur, not the genius, the person who's not unique, who's always making trouble. No, we can't have people who are always making trouble. We have to have people who are alike. That's why schooling is a very appropriate word out of biology, out of ecology. Everyone does what everybody else does. And that's because we need people to work our factories and, write the software and push the buttons. And secondarily, we need to have people who are consumers, who are the patient and obedient buyers of our products. And then to please the financial sector, buyers of products on credit, right? You make it even more exciting in a whole new happy band of American capitalists. Glad to serve you with the credit card, sir, or the national debt. The system feeds business, and the school system is a pipeline for people being employees, right? Not entrepreneurs. That's not ever the goal. It is to be employees, servants, and consumers. So EPB is committing itself to the system that we have, and the paper and the newspaper, in other words, and this white paper with its executive summary talk about building the smartest community in the South. Well, can it be done apart from the free market? What do you think? Can we have the smartest community and do not demand the marketplace? What is the marketplace? Well, the marketplace is the educational sector. I know quite a bit about that. Well, let's say I know a little bit about that. I'm a homeschool dad. I have 4 children. The eldest is 23 or so, 24, in Manhattan, already a successful, sought-after sculptor, homeschooled girl. She was, for a couple of years, Cessna DeCosimo's apprentice. He taught her many valuable and wonderful things about the arts and, I guess, about life. And then I have my youngest is about to turn 13. We've always been homeschoolers. We've never participated in the free system, for which we have paid the tax. Every year I pay $1,000 tax or more on my house. And I just accept that. That's just, the burdens of liberty is that you pay for other people's mistakes, you pay for other people's needs, right? The tax system. And I've got a caller. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're live on the air here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Great subject, David. If you go to Hot News Talk Radio's Twitter, the latest tweet will also bring you to a YouTube video of the dumbing down of children that is purposeful, and that's in the public and the private schools, including the so-called Christian schools. And I think you hit the nail on the head, but I always say if anyone claims that there's a problem, we have to have the solution. So I think this is maybe a twofold event that we're dealing with here. The first thing is now the government propagandizers that want to brainwash our children are admitting Common Core is wrong. So they basically destroyed an entire generation of children. Come on, you're going to let George Bush and the politicians educate your kids. It's ridiculous. But here's the problem. What's the solution to people like you that are paying $1,000 a year in taxes, 60% of households, single moms with 1 or 2 children that don't have the means to send their children to an alternative school and go back to the basics of education, where you have a church and parents send their children to the church during the day to be educated. That's how it started. And if we don't get back to those basics and put the bad schooling out of business, which is the government school, education will continue to decline in America. Good drives out bad. The solution is don't abolish the government schools. They'll go away. Every Christian church should open their doors in the morning and welcome children in, not with a government agenda, but with a God agenda, and truly educating them as you do at home by homeschooling. I'd like to hear your comment on that.
Well, that was a very good call, and I do thank you, caller, for that, for ringing into me. And by the way, the number here is 800-8949. That's 800-8949, 800-8949. I don't give that number out largely because if I do, I'll never get to my work. I'll never get to what I have on my agenda for you. But he's right. We don't. There's no point in legally assailing the public system. The public school system in Tennessee has a constitutional gap. If a litigant who had be let's see, kind of a barrier to access that's required in the Constitution. There have to be standards for every school. There's no right to public education. There has to be there's a barrier that's required. Such a barrier has never been created, and so a lawsuit would say this school system is unconstitutional because it has no limits on who gets in. Right? Not everybody can get in. Well, that's a way of destroying, you might say, the enemy, if you want to view public schools as the enemy of the market, which they are. But the caller is pointing out that the system won't be knocked over like that. It'll simply wither away. It'll be something that falls into disuse. It's hit by desuetude, I think is the word, disuse by the patrons who've turned away. Well, the problem that he mentions about the single mom with the job and children, she needs to have public schools. I'm remembering an interview I had with someone in a neighboring county in Sequatchie Valley who says, well, a Christian minister, he favors public schools because there are poor people who need it. Well, that's a very pragmatic line of thinking. I think we should try to act on principle and say, well, these are wrong and we need to have an alternative, but we need to have an alternative, right? We need to have a way where people don't have to patronize the state, could have their children tutored. You don't have to have classes, you just have tutoring and reading assignments and things like that. If it's done in a voluntary nature, apart from the teeth, right? Apart from the military, then you have moms who can't afford a private school to have a Christian-based and largely free offering for her children. That divorcee with a job who's now relying on school for daycare. Well, this is David Tulis. The marketplace has answers in almost every area. Just think about the possibilities.
Expect a breezy and wet start to your Monday with showers and thunder showers marching through, diminishing after lunchtime, highs lower to middle 60s. Tonight, clearing out, cooling down, overnight lows 43 to 46. For Tuesday, a beautiful day, sunshine, highs mid 60s, near 65 again on Wednesday. Old Man Winter's coming back soon, so keep you and your family toasty warm all season long with the largest selection of cold weather clothing around. That's Dodge City Ski Shop, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Rick Davis Total Store Sale. Gold, silver, bracelets, rings, diamonds. Rick Davis pays you cash personally. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has got the cash and incredible deals at 50, 60, and 70% off. Rick Davis on Brainerd Road near Eastgate Town Center.
Do I sound like a guy who loves to eat? Yeah. You too? Guess what? I cook the meanest hamburger in Hickson at my little restaurant, Armando's at Chester Frost Park. That's it. Right by the entrance, Chester Frost Park on Hickson Pike. I'd like you to come by and let me cook you dinner too. Bring your family, kids, friends. Lunch for common folk, just not the common lunch. Yeah, we're perfect for lunch. And dinner too. Meat guy? Yeah. Potatoes? Yeah. Catfish, BLTs, pecan pie, hot cup of coffee or ice cold sweet tea. Armando's. That's us. Come on by 11 to 9, Monday through Saturday, right outside the entrance, Chester Frost Park, across from Thrasher.
A view like no other awaits you for lunch or dinner at Ari's in Saudi Daisy. Ari's Harbor Light is the restaurant over the glittering waters of Lake Chickamauga, there at the marina. It serves you a quiet dinner for two, a solitary glass after a day of toil, a delicious family feast, pleasing even the pickiest 8-year-old niece here for the holidays. Come today. Ari's Harbor Lights restaurant lays a generous smorgasbord of seafood, Greek specialties, Italian pasta. Try Ari's at 11 for lunch. Ari's, 9700 Hickson Pike, Saudi Daisy, 843-2800. Open Tuesday through Sunday. A great place for a holiday party. Happy hour, 3 to 7. Ari's.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Saudi Daisy. Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. President Obama is spending time reviewing the plan to neutralize ISIS, and he's trying to reassure Americans that the plan will work. CBS News White House correspondent Pam Coulter.
Visits to the Pentagon today and the National Counterterrorism Center later in the week are designed to calm nervous Americans following the attacks in San Bernardino and Paris and explain how the counter-ISIS campaign is working. In his weekly address, the president said they've taken out 3 leaders in recent weeks.
Our message to these killers is simple. We will find you, and justice will be done.
The president's not expected to announce any major changes in his ISIS fighting strategy today. Pam Coulter, CBS News, the White House.
Closing arguments started a short time ago in the case of William Porter, a Baltimore policeman charged in the death of Freddie Gray, who died from the spinal injury he suffered in the back of a police van. CBS News correspondent Barry Bagnano.
Prosecutors need to convince jurors his failure to act when he checked on Freddie Gray in a police van made him criminally responsible for Gray's death. The defense contends Gray wasn't seriously injured at that point and that Porter actually did more than most officers would to try to help Gray.
Senator Ted Cruz seems to be making his move. While Cruz still trails Donald Trump in nationwide polls, he's pulled ahead among likely Iowa caucus goers. CBS's Nancy Cordes tells us Republican Party leaders dislike Trump, but they're not wild about Cruz either.
They are openly warning that if he is the nominee, that the party has no chance of winning the presidency. They don't feel that he can win over independents, women, Hispanics, the voters that the party needs.
Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox has just released new government rules to register drones. Anyone who has one and operates it by next Monday has until February 19th to register. Drones purchased after next Monday have to be registered before the first outdoor flight.
My message to unmanned aircraft operators is pretty simple. It is in your best interest to register early.
Registration is available through the FAA website. The Postal Service expects today to be the busiest mailing and shipping day for holiday packages, letters, and cards. Postal spokesman John Bazinski.
We're looking at about double-digit increases over last year, so it's been a good holiday season so far, and we're looking for that to continue the last week or so.
University of Buffalo researchers are recruiting teenagers who suffered concussions for a study to determine how much and what kind of exercise would help treat the symptoms. John Letty is in charge of the study.
Exercise is good for the brain. Everybody knows that. The question is, can you use it as a dose of medication, in a sense, to treat a brain injury?
The conventional treatment for a concussion is rest. Serena Williams is the 2015 Sports Illustrated Person of the Year.
We're honoring her not just for a dominant 2015, but also for a career of excellence. She's a 34-year-old woman playing at the very top of her game.
Managing editor Chris Stone says Williams was selected partly for addressing social issues off the court. In early trading, the Dow Industrials are down 21 points. This is CBS News.
It's happening to you every night. One snores and the other can't sleep. It seems like there's no end to it. But now, there is a quick and easy-to-use solution, a natural solution. Snore Stop. Snore Stop was created and tested by a team of doctors and has been helping couples sleep for over 18 years. It is the #1 selling anti-snoring medicine in the U.S.
Thank you, Snore Stop. You saved my marriage.
Snore Stop sprays or tablets are now available nationwide at a store near you, or you can go online at snorestop.com. Don't wait. It's time to try Snore Stop and make every night a better night for both of you.
Thanks, Snore Stop. Now I'm back in the bedroom.
So don't wait. Try Snore Stop, the #1 selling anti-snoring medicine in the U.S. Spray or tablets are available today at a store near you or online at snorestop.com. That's snorestop.com. Snore Stop, keeping you together.
All the evidence points to sabotage as the cause of a deadly plane crash in the Sinai Peninsula, but Egyptian authorities refuse to acknowledge that foul play was involved. CBS's Alex Ortiz has the latest from Cairo.
The Egyptian-led investigation committee says there is still no evidence the Russian airliner was downed by a terrorist bomb. That, despite consensus among the U.S., U.K., and Russia's security services that Islamic State-linked militants managed to sneak a bomb on board the plane. The group's Sinai affiliate claimed responsibility for the crash, which killed all 224 passengers on board and decimated the Egyptian tourism industry. Alex Ortiz, CBS News, Cairo.
Israeli police say a Palestinian driver plowed into pedestrians near the western entrance to Jerusalem, injuring 9 people before bystanders shot and killed him. In Argentina, at least 41 police officers died when the bus they were on went over a bridge into a creek 65 feet below. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
In Polk County, there's a commissioner, Karen Bracken, who I view her as a valuable thermometer of sentiment here in Southeast Tennessee. She, in her work last year and before, she's been very concerned about Common Core and was part of the Common Core revolt. And in the past. So I'd like to think that maybe a thing or two I had pointed out to her might have helped her draw that conclusion. But I'm sure that conclusion is something drawn from her wide reading in the No Child Left Behind revision law and Common Core, that the system is built by machines, it's built by institutions, and their goal is effectively to harvest your children. That is why it exists, to harvest your children and to use them for its own purposes. And she says in a note on Facebook the other day, she says, be sure to listen to an interview between Glenn Beck and his Texas mother, or this Texas mother. She says, this is just the beginning, folks, and it is more widespread than most parents realize. And her recommendation, based on this detailed interview about Common Core, she says, starve the beast. That's the solution. Starve the beast. Notice how she doesn't call them the good people like I do. I say starve the good people. Well, that just sounds atrocious that you would propose that, David. But she's not being diplomatic, and so she says, starve the beast and get your children off the battlefield and into the safety of your own home. You are their parents, she says. You brought them here. It's your job to protect them. Time to reset priorities and get your kids out of the system. It is the only way to shut this down. And again, shutting down is what happens when there are no customers. And we have 40,000 children whose parents are all customers, are getting a free ride here in Hamilton County. And they want someone else to pay for this essential service. And I'm sure some of them feel like they don't have a choice and so on. And in a way, that's true. They don't have a choice. Why? Because there's no capital available. Why? Well, because the system, which is grossly inefficient, consumes capital. It consumes value. And you can say it consumes dollars. Okay, it consumes dollars way more than the ostensible or pretended benefits. It costs $10,000 to school a child in Hamilton County, and my bill for education is probably a couple $1,000s a year per child. And with a little bit of effort, and it would probably be a little bit more if I had tutors for, say, math, which is something I don't teach, and I've engaged tutors for numerous areas of academic development that are not in my area or not in my wife Jeanette's area either. And so maybe for $3,000 I can school, if you will, quote, school, unquote, a child. But capital is not available when you have a tax-funded system which is inhaling all the capital out of the room, right? All the oxygen is going into its lungs through the skimming operation of taxation, and there's less available to you. You don't have options because you don't have capital, right? Capital is how you buy options. Capital or money is how you, my listener, provide options for people. And yet there is not support for capitalism among people who make their living in the marketplace, make their living promoting capitalism, right? Touting the benefits of the free market. And who are the people who have endorsed this plan, this plan called Chattanooga 2.0 that has come out of the Benwood Foundation and focuses on job growth and sustaining new growth and how to fill these jobs and the qualifications, the academic qualifications for students who enter into the job workforce. Well, the people who are for this scheme, which is not a reform at all, but just a kind of adjusting the state system, are widespread. There's the Benwood Foundation, Blue Cross Blue Shield. This list is all the big players in Chattanooga. And making it, I think, here, by the way, if you're looking at us on YouTube, you can see the front page of the Chattanooga Times-Free Press, which I'm looking at today, the Sunday edition. We are here at AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, and we stream on YouTube. You can, day is not just, and there's not much I can do to get it to lie down straight. It keeps leaping ahead as if it's breaking the wind as I walk forward. And my tie doesn't match my shirt. You can see all that on YouTube at our channel, hotnewstalkradio.com. We are very personal people here, and not pretentious at all. You can also hear all of our live shows and even Colin Cowherd at our YouTube channel, and also on our streaming through our streaming method, and that is through the TuneIn Radio app. It's a free app, and we are the station where Colin Cowherd reigns. He reigns in the afternoon, and just before Sean Hannity. So we're the CBS, Fox News, NASCAR station, NFL station, Colin Cowherd station, and Sean Hannity station. And we also have Russell Stroud, the kid, on Binary, his program. And also we have Keon Rose on sports. Keon Rose, our sports, local sports guy. Now, I mentioned how we're unpretentious, and we are, but we are not institutional, right? We are a very personal radio station owned by two guys. I'm one of them, and my partner, a constitutionalist, blowhard, diehard, out of Yankee land, a very repentant and sorrowful Yankee here in Chattanooga. And by the way, if you want to support intelligent radio, think about supporting my station. And how do you do that? Do we beg you for money? No. Don't write us a check just for fun or get a free CD or something like that. Advertise on our station. Bring business to your business, right? Let my listener know about you, about who you are and what you do and the great services you provide. We have very competitive rates, by the way. We're terrifically competitive. And I'm loco-centric. I'm Nooga-centric, right? The man who devised that word, the local economy guru here in Chattanooga. And I'm here to help you, the little guy, okay? We care not for the big people, the big types. We want the little guy. Better to have $1,000 accounts than $1,000 account, I would say. But the backers of this Chattanooga 2.0 proposal are all the establishment, right? The Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce, the NAACP, Chat State, the Urban League, Community Foundation, Enterprise Center, the Footprint Foundation, Hamilton County Department of Education. Wow, it's in favor of this advertising campaign. Also, the Hamilton County PTA Council, Lamppost Group, McClellan Foundation, McKenzie Foundation, Public Education Foundation, Reed 20, Techtown, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, Unify Ed. Well, that's surprising, and Unum. And the idea is to not make any fundamental reforms, but to keep things as they are, but make adjustments. Think more of futurity. Think into the future. The future is our God, and we call upon him to come to us. And certainly it will. In the executive summary of Chattanooga 2.0, we're told that we're nearing 30 years of an incredible renaissance, which has propelled Chattanooga to the forefront as a vibrant and livable community, making reference, of course, to the downtown, the gigabit internet structure, the hallmark of successes of our community that has pulled together and worked tirelessly to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Now, the insurmountable challenge is the state itself. Okay, that's the challenge, but it's not seen in this report. That there's no glimmer that the state itself and its administrative empire is the challenge, because what that does is that it atomizes individuals and it dulls all the tendrils, all the nervous system of the economy, meaning the people, right? The people are sort of anesthetized by what the state has to offer. They become dependent, they become needful. And the state, through public education, as it's called, is there to help them. The summary goes on to say, when it comes to public education, there are many talented and dedicated teachers, principals, educators, and higher education leaders in our community who are working hard to make a difference. While there is no silver bullet or clear path to transforming education, what do you think about that? We can build off of the successes and lessons learned from great efforts, both locally and across the country. There are some things that we know have the potential to make a big difference. Marketplace, including great teaching and leadership. Not true. Ensuring strong foundations in early learning. That means, of course, compulsory kindergarten. Building better, creating post-secondary supports, and aligning education for the 21st century. Going forward, I hate that expression. I don't like that expression. Going forward, we know the most successful communities will be those that ensure their residents are equipped with the skills to be successful in the new high-tech, digitally driven, knowledge-based economy. So it sounds like these people know what's ahead, right? It sounds as though they know that we are heading in toward a knowledge-based economy. The future as our God is coming, and we embrace the future. Imagine Chattanooga, this summary goes on to say, as a place that provides a great public education and pathways to promise every child. Imagine Chattanooga as the smartest city in the South by committing to the bold but attainable goal of having 75% of Hamilton County residents completing a post-secondary certificate or degree by 2025. Our community will be required to work to dramatically strengthen the educational pipeline from cradle to career. But you see what this is a very interesting thing to tease out here. And here's what I would say is happening. Remember a few months ago, Governor free graduate, I think, with a B. You can get 2 years or 3 years of time at Chat State for free. You don't have to pay for it. It's part of the state's burden for its beloved public. And what he's doing there is what I think is being supported here, and that is keeping life in a dead system. And I say dead just to be dramatic. Of course, it's not really dead, but it is comatose because it relies on some faulty presuppositions. And the more we understand the internet, the more we actually go on YouTube, the more we'll see that the compulsory attendance system, which has mass capital plants, high taxes, and state payroll, the more we can see that system is unworkable, doesn't work, doesn't deliver, and serves only its chief client, only its real client. And that, of course, is the state. It doesn't serve the ostensible and pretended client, which is the mom and the dad. That's you, right? You are merely the pretended client of the public system. It is not there for you. It is there as a managerial tool for the state. It is part of the state's administrative apparatus. Even though it has a constitutional foundation in Tennessee law, it is, in the end, an executive function and assumed by all to be essential for a civilized people, for a civic people, a civic-minded people, those who understand their duty as public people, as members of the public, and who are willing to be served by this system and to submit to it. Right? You don't just have services from it, you have submission to it through your assent and your application and your enrollment of your children. Do you know if you enroll your child in a public school, there's a mark on that child, a legal mark? And I'm not sure the implications of that, but I've heard tell about it in the homeschool sector that you can't disenroll, like you can't rescind your application and undo the work ab initio. On your child's ledger. And you say, well, what difference does it make? Well, how can that possibly matter? Well, right now, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you've been enrolled for 1 or 2 times for a child. It doesn't. It's not significant. But I think that it might be significant as to what it says about your perspective. Right, you're my listener's perspective. And we want to have a renaissance, but can we have a renaissance through the state? That's the question. Not Senator, but Governor Haslam, Bill Haslam, the Republican, the Presbyterian Attorney General is a Republican Presbyterian elder too, out of Cedar Springs Presbyterian Church in Knoxville. They say that no, you have to have the state there. The state is here. There's no other way than to have a state involved in this enterprise of teaching your child right and wrong, of teaching your child constitutional history, of teaching your child math, of teaching your child about creation, science, grammar, history. These are all things that have to be in our purview. We cannot conceive of a life without us being at the center, the very living, breathing center of this life, which you, my listener, give into. You give to it, and you go to it. You have to go to it to receive it. As you go to the altar, right? Your Christian friends want you to become a Christian. Well, and they say, just repent of your sins and come to the front. Well, that's what you do to the state. You go from where you're sitting, you walk down the aisle to an embrace where you are served and benefited in ways that you just can't imagine. Well, this is David Tulis, and that is part of what I have to say today. I do thank you for giving me just a few minutes of your time here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're the Colin Cowherd station. Colin Cowherd, the leading sports analyst on the radio in the country. And we have the number 2 national talk show host. That's Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity is a terrific here on station because he is well loved and says many, many very good things. And we are here to serve you. This Chattanooga 2.0 paper goes on to say, meeting this goal will have incredible economic impact, not only for our community as a whole, but on individual residents and families for generations to come. Again, the goal is to have 75% of Hamilton County residents complete a post-secondary. Okay, well, that's the goal, to have this certificate. What is the value of that certificate? Why do we want to have 75% of the people have that certificate and they become valuable from it? Is that how people become valuable? Well, no. If we have indeed, as we learn in this document, a knowledge-based economy and a digital economy, how can public schools be part of that? How can you have a goal that gets you into this economy, and that goal is sort of anti-knowledge-based economy, anti-digital-based economy? You're pretending, by maintaining a school system, you're pretending that knowledge is scarce and rare, and that you have to corral people together in a physical location subject to mass shooters, and you have to drill them by people on the state payroll. You have to effectively pay a fortune to dumb down the American people, dumb down the children of Hamilton County, make them all like everybody else, not forbid that their uniqueness, their internal creative violence, if you will, not come out. That cannot come out in the system that has been grumbling along for decades here in Hamilton County and Chattanooga. That system does not serve the family. It does serve the state. However, the state, if you read some kinds of economic analysis, the state is collapsing, and the state is meeting a grave prospect, especially the federal state. The bigger the entity, the harder the fall is going to be, and that is something that's just ahead. We are facing a gigantic overbuild in the economy. You can see it locally. You can see this overbuild all over the place. It's this unreasonable optimism of the future, and you can look at the construction sites to get just a vague sense of what I'm referring to. Further, one more thing I want to mention. Achieving a 75% post-secondary attainment will mean, here's the number, right? You're supposed to buy into these numbers. 100,000 more local residents with access to jobs that pay over $35,000. $4,500 average raise for every adult worker in the county. $1.1 billion more in total wages in our county every year. 8,000 adults moved out of poverty. Those are all laudable. But nothing is transformative in this scheme. Nothing. It says that this effort will take a community-wide. It is a community-wide effort and commitment, or requires commitment to implement the bold and transformative solutions that are needed. Who has a role to play? We all do, we are told. And I think that we all have a role to play, but it's really somewhere else. It's in the free market. And how do you clamor for the free market? Well, you patronize private parties who have what you want, right? Don't go to the state for what you want, but go to private parties. And that, I would say that needs to be happening in many areas, not just education. Private parties have the solution. We have a voluntary economy that's been stifled for decades by the tax-funded cartel that produces results. It does produce results, but not one that leaves you free to esteem your children and whom they have become and whom they are becoming in the care of the, you might say, the messianic state, the welfare state, with its classrooms and its state payroll and the teacher union and the whole caboodle of capitalists that run after this system like pilot fish, sucking the microbes off the skin, if you will. This is David Tulis, and we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Tell a friend about my station. You know, Sean Hannity made the jump here to my station, and you've got a friend who needs to make the jump too. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a breezy and wet start to your Monday with showers and thunder showers marching through, diminishing after lunchtime, highs lower to middle 60s. Tonight, clearing out, cooling down, overnight lows 43 to 46. For Tuesday, a beautiful day, sunshine, highs mid-60s, near 65 again on Wednesday. Old man winter's coming back soon, so keep you and your family toasty warm all season long with the largest selection of cold weather clothing around. That's Dodge City Ski Shop, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. CBS Radio News brought to you by Kubota. You can count on Kubota to help you get the toughest jobs done with ease, comfort, and efficiency. Whether you need a compact tractor, zero-turn mower, or diesel utility vehicle, let Kubota help you get your work done. Find your local Kubota dealer at TennesseeKubotaDealers.com.
At Kubota, there's only one thing we're selling. Great tractors.
Lay your burdens down at the woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming life.
Happy holidays at the Wood. From the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at Chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct. Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef. Oh, yes. Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh, my goodness. It's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right. Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road, between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5Preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. With the next GOP presidential debate tomorrow, 2 new polls show that in Iowa, Ted Cruz is stealing some thunder from Donald Trump.
A new Fox poll finds Cruz leading Donald Trump 28 to 26%, and a poll from the Des Moines Register shows Cruz with a 10-point lead. Caucus goers say both Trump and Cruz are most qualified to handle the economy and national security.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Secretary of State Kerry heading to Moscow to meet with Russian President Putin.
The 2 topics on the agenda, Syria and Ukraine, ongoing conflict on which the US and Russia do not see eye to eye, with US sanctions in place on the Russian economy over Ukraine and no sign of either side backing down on the question of Syrian President Bashar Assad, supported by Russia and opposed by the US.
Fox Radio's Simon Owen. A big night in Hollywood. 3 theaters will roll out red carpets for the world premiere of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. The movie opens nationwide on Friday. Fox News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Cater your next event with Choo Choo Barbecue of Hickson. Choo Choo of Hickson has the absolute best barbecue, and cater that you need to keep in mind. Have a local shop take care of your church event, your school event, your office gathering. The number is 870-7894. Call that number today. Call it now while you have it on your mind. 870-7894. Catering is the first thing, but find out more about it. Go and have lunch today at Choo Choo Barbecue. It's mouth-watering pork or chicken or beef. You can get a good sandwich, a hefty sandwich for just under and near the Valley Brook. It's in New Digs, and I do want you to know that if you love your neighbor, you will buy local. You will be prejudiced, like I'm prejudiced, right? You'll be prejudiced, and you'll favor the local over the national, and the little SP over the ink, right? That's kind of how we think, because we think that personal is better than corporate, and that physical is better than abstract, and that simple is better than complex. And down in the footnotes, I'm turning things upside down today. I guess you noticed. We have the main presuppositions of localism and nougacentrism, and they are that near and small than big. And that's you put the 2 in the footnotes and 3 in the main bar. That's how you should always make your arguments. I was talking with Jay Hirsch the other day, the man who's being prosecuted for driving in the free market without a driver's license in Lawrence County. And I said, I think maybe when I read your brief, is there any way you could boil it down to 3 points and have footnotes? Because it seems to me that there are too many individual points. And that's a way of it's a writing style. In the end, it's a writing style. And he said, well, I'm a musician and I lay paint on parking lots. That's what I do. And here I am, the editor, saying, "Oh, you need to simplify." But that's he has a very remarkable analysis. If you want to find out more about that case for liberty, a case about liberty versus the administrative realm, you want to go to Nooganomics.com. That's the number 7 media platform in Chattanooga, and somehow this radio station's in the mix. I'm not sure exactly how, so I'd say we're number 1 in what we do, and that is free market analysis, local-centric, local economy analysis, and you're going to get that here every day. And I'm grateful to you. I'm very grateful that you would give me a couple of minutes at a time. Just little old David Tulis, the man with the floppy bow tie. If you want a gift for your sweetheart for Christmas, think about this. Think about having her sensuously, bodily treated. Not by you now, but by Woodhouse Day Spa. This is just for relaxation. At Woodhouse Day Spa, you can get for her a gift card. I think you should get her a gift card from the website. She'll get treatments for skins, treatments for muscle, for back, of wonderful things, wraps, and that would be for a half a day or even a day at Woodhouse Day Spa. It's kind of a ritzy place in Warehouse Row. luxury care, transforming. It's really memorable. And the web address is chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. That's chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're live on the air at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. What's on your mind?
Yeah, you guys do a real good job. I just want you to know that. Y'all do a good job because you bring stuff about Chattanooga to people in Chattanooga. And I just wanted to call and thank you. And I never met you or anything, but you sound like a good man, good Christian man.
Well, thanks very much, and appreciate your call, sir. The number here, if you want to call me, is 800-8949. I don't give that number out, and I don't know if I should start doing that, because if I do, you, my listener, will be the man on the radio and not me. And I've got work to do, and I love talking with people. But on the other hand, I feel like I'm here to be, as the man suggests, a good Christian man and a man who uses his brain. Right, I'm trying to use my brain and bring things to you, the listener, that maybe you hadn't thought about before, or maybe you just kind of overlooked. For example, the slaying today. Well, I'm not going to get back into that. Javario Eagle, the slaying of this man, the father of maybe at least one child, and shot. The story is that he was shot by police after apparently threatening them by aiming a weapon at him. That they showed great restraint, killing him or shooting at him, opening fire only on the third attempt, the third waving of that barrel in their direction. And then they fired and he fell. Then they fired again. And then as he lay dying, they handcuffed this man, bloodied from his bullet wounds there at the federal housing project for black people. And that is what happened today. And I have if you want to find out more about that kind of from my perspective, right? I take the final reports that are in the news and boil it down, kind of retelling the story, highlighting things that maybe need to be highlighted, though I'm not doing any original reporting on that account, just by the way. So if you want to treat your wife to something really special, make sure you go to Woodhouse Day Spa. That's Woodhouse Day Spa at Chattanooga. Here's the web address: chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. It spells just like it sounds. And we are here at the station that wants you to start a business. And if you need help starting a business, make sure you contact Bruce Krebs at Entrepreneur Source. His number is 875-561. Call him today. Get on his schedule today to think about your plan B. That's what Bruce Krebs does. He gets you into somebody else's business. You're the rep here in Hamilton County, or even places beyond. Again, his name is Bruce Krebs. He's a very fine consultant. He's kind of a headhunter for franchisors and would like to get you into a franchise that fits your background. Call him today. Do it now. Don't keep dawdling. Don't keep thinking you need more evidence about our coming disaster. You've got personal disasters ahead, perhaps. And so you need to have a plan B. 875-561. That's 875-561. And I've got a bunch of little things to get to, so let's just get right to it. Jeffrey Tucker is a writer, conservative writer, and he has a great little piece about Trump. And I haven't mentioned much about Trump because you all know what I think about it, right? You already know what I don't even have to talk about Trump for you to get some fruitful discourse. And the problem with Trump is that he is a fascist. And now it's interesting that even libertarian people, right, free market oriented, classical liberal people like me, I'm a classical liberal, which is to say I'm a free marketer. They think that Trump somehow has the solutions. They like his harsh and brusque way. They think that suggests that he will be an executive who gets things done. Well, that's just what we don't want. We don't want an executive who executes, right? We've had an overage of executives executing, from President Bush to President Obama, and before him we had Bush daddy, and then we had Clinton. We have way too many executions going on, and Trump is a fascist. Now, fascism is not a word of accusation so much as a description of a political economic system, well developed by the Italians and the Spanish and the Germans in the 1910s and 1920s. and 30s. And fascism is a successful, you could call it a successful scheme that avoids the pitfalls of Keynesianism and socialism, or even communist Marxism, where the government ostensibly owns all enterprise. In fascism, there's nominal ownership of enterprise and industry by people, individuals and families and corporations, but control of output and demand by the state. So that's what fascism is. It's not, you're not throwing swastikas on somebody and trying to make them look like anti-Semites or something, right? That's not what the word means. It is a descriptive word of an economic theory warned about by Friedrich Hayek in his great book, The Road to Serfdom, which, by the way, I do recommend that you read. He says, the rise of but a necessary outcome of those tendencies. And here's how that works. We are vulnerable to fascism because we have a breakdown of the system, right? The system of corporate capitalism, debt capitalism that we have now, which is not the free market. Again, not the free market. We have fascism coming to our country because of the failure of socialism that we've had from the time of FDR. Now the socialists build the state machinery, but their plans fail. A crisis arrives. Jeffrey Tucker says, the population seeks answers. Politicians claiming to be anti-socialist step up with new authoritarian plans, he says, that purport to reverse the problem. Their populist appeal taps into the lowest political instincts, and these are categorized as nativism, racism, religious bigotry, and so on. So he had I mentioned Tucker not long ago in an hour-long speech that Trump gave, and Tucker wrote a report about it. And just a fascinating discussion that you can find if you go to fee.org. FEE is Free Enterprise Education Foundation. The Foundation for Economic Education. And he quotes, Tucker quotes just quickly here, Ross Douthat in the New York Times. His Douthat is carried here in Chattanooga at the Times Free Press. And he says that there are fascistic traits, and here they are: a cult of action, a celebration of aggressive masculinity. Donald Trump certainly has that. An intolerance of criticism, a fear of difference and outsiders, a pitch to the frustrations of the lower class, intense nationalism and resentment at national humiliation, and a popular elite every world. And how is it that we haven't had fascism yet? And Douthat is quoted as saying, part of the explanation has to be that the American conservative tradition has always included important elements, a libertarian skepticism of state power, a stress on localism and states' rights. I like that. A religious and particularly Protestant emphasis on the conscience of the individual over the power of the collective. That inoculated our politics against fascism's appeal. He singles out libertarianism as the ideological brake on fascist longings. This is precisely right, Jeffrey Tucker says. Libertarianism grows out of the liberal tradition, which is about far more than merely hating the ruling class establishment. Classical liberalism has universalist longings, embodied in its defense of free trade, free speech, free migration, and freedom of religion. The central planning feature of fascistic ideology, this writer says, is absolutely ruled out by libertarian love for spontaneous social and economic forces at work in society. Again, that's another way of saying local economy, right? Local economy is working. And so Trump is a fascist, and though he draws many free market people, many Tea Party people to his way of thinking, and we are at a loss to deal with him. Though he is certainly a very colorful character, he is appealing to the tightly controlled central top authority. Right, that is the dictator. He appeals to our desire to have a dictator. Even my desire to have one. I was mentioning, I think I better hold off on this. There's a real estate commercial bubble ahead, and Gary North is warning businessmen to do not sign any long-term leases. Sign at the absolute most 1 year long leases, because there is a coming collapse in commercial real estate, which means that if you're stuck on a lease, you'll be paying way more than the property is worth in the way of rental income. I just mentioned that in passing. George Will has an important story that touches on local economy and how what we don't want local economy to look like here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. It's about Pagedale, Missouri, and a lawsuit brought by the Institute for Justice against the fee skimming operation of city government. This is a town that has about 93 of the poverty line, George Will reports. And the headline is, "A Missouri town demands substantive due process." I'm trying to get to somewhere here. I need to kind of rush through. What is substantive due process? Due process doesn't mean simply procedural rights that are maintained, but due process means that you are free from arbitrary and capricious demands and claims. And I'm thinking about the driver's license case in Middle Tennessee that in God's good grace, I hope to go and cover that, having had some conversations already with the defendant. The good man in this party is the man who's accused of a crime, right? The bad guy is really the good guy. Richdale residents are subject to fines if they walk on the left side of a crosswalk, if they have a hedge more than 3 feet high, a weed more than 7 inches high, or any dead vegetation on the property, or if they park a car that at night more than 500 feet from a street lamp, or any other source of illumination, or if windows facing a street do not have drapes or blinds that are, quote, neatly in a presentable appearance, properly maintained, and in a state of good repair, unquote. Or if their houses have unpainted foundations or chipped or aging layers of paint, even on the gutters, okay? Or if there are cracks in their driveways, or if on a national holiday, the only time a barbecue may be conducted in their front yard, more than 2 people are gathered at the grill, or there are alcoholic beverages within 150 feet of the grill. All this and much more is because Missouri's legislature, noting excessive reliance on traffic tickets, put a low cap a community percent of Pagedale's tickets are from non-traffic offenses. Since 2010, such tickets have increased 495%. In 2013, the city collected, George Will says, $356,000 in fines and fees. But the Institute of Justice is suing and trying to ease the burden of this legislative and local corporation skimming. What is due process of law? It is the entire nation should hope that this city's pettiness will be stopped, Will says, by a court that says this: the due process clause properly construed, okay, here's what I wanted to quote, prohibits arbitrary government actions, particularly that which unjustifiably restricts individuals' liberties. There's a quote here from an author I've read, Timothy Sandifer of the Pacific Legal Foundation, says that due process is an outcome that is not arbitrary. Okay, so if the outcome is not arbitrary, then you have obtained, you have due process. If the outcome is arbitrary, then you haven't obtained due process and you don't have it. So you have grounds to sue for it. He says, granted, the Constitution's text does not explicitly infuse the concept of due process with substance, okay? Is it a process or is it substance? But there are implicit limits on government power, limits inherent in the idea of law. As Timothy Sandifer says, a legislative act that fails the tests of generality, regularity, fairness, and rationality, being cost efficient means to a legitimate end, is not a law. So enforcing it cannot be due process of law. So these are arbitrary exactions, arbitrary enforcements, and findings. And this legal foundation is suing to free the people of Pagedale, Missouri, of that. We know we have a group like that here in Tennessee, and it's called the Beacon Center in Nashville. And I want you to know if there's an arbitrary claim against you, my listener, I want to know about it, okay? And so does the Beacon Center, and a very fine young attorney, a former prosecutor, state and federal prosecutor, is on the staff now, and he is going to be litigating for liberty, fighting for liberty, and the Beacon Center is looking for cases. So if you want to talk to me about a case that you think might be worth fighting, let me know, and that would be on a case that's arbitrary and capricious, or a law or ordinance or practice that violates a constitutional or fundamental right imposed upon you from the world of the administrative realm, right? The realm that exists so that constitutional rights don't have to be such a burden, such a problem, such a weight on the calendars and budgets of bureaucrats. Bureaucrats don't like constitutional rights because they require scrupulous respect. How do you get rid of constitutional rights? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and I've been thinking about this a good while. I know it sounds really obscure, but it's of vital importance. The state induces you to yield your constitutional right, say to travel, by inducing you to obtain a driver's license that is not required. And the statute for driver's license is in Title 55, 50, 301, I think it is. And if you read the language of the law, it plainly makes it very clear that the whole apparatus of licensure applies to every single soul that enters into that system by application. But there's no general requirement to have a driver's license to use the public road by a conveyance that contains within it an engine, a steering wheel, and a fuel tank, and of course seats and other things that are part of the car. You can have a car and you can use the car privately, not in commerce. And it is kind of remarkable to say this, but last year I was saying these kinds of things tentatively as I was reading the statute and reading case law about it. But the rules of construction, judging by a couple dozen cases I've read thus far on this question, the rules of statutory construction make it very clear to me that my reading of the statute is, in fact, not foolish, but extremely thankful. And why is it thankful? Because the legislature wrote the statute because it doesn't want to offend your constitutional right to travel. And yet you give up that constitutional right when you enter the realm of administrative law covered by the UAPA. That means the Uniform Administrative Procedures Act. You apply for a license, and that act, the UAPA, controls what happens to you then. And your rights, of course, are dispensed with. You don't have rights. You do have procedural rights. You do have some substantive rights that you can exercise in that realm, as I did. But in the end, can a man such as Jay Hirsch, a musician, a fine Christian man who sings on Sundays to shut-ins at the nursing home in Lawrence County, a man who also makes a living by paving parking lots, is he a malefactor? Is he wicked to think that he can drive freely on the public road apart from anybody's permission? He thinks he is, but the state wants there to be as few people like him as possible, right? People like that don't come out of public school. They don't. People who come out of public school are all obedient. They all think, well, I can't drive without a driver's license. Everybody knows that. No one ever looks, right? No one is taught in public school how to use LexisNexis, how to look up a law book, or to find a case. No one is ever taught that. And I'm afraid even homeschoolers in my generation are way behind the eight ball on that one. Maybe my children, if they grow up and marry and have children, they will be the ones to say, okay, we're not having homeschool today unless we look at some case law or we read some sections out of Shannon's constitutional law or other, right? I know I'm thinking big here, but you're just going to have to forgive me. I do appreciate you, my listener. You are a gracious listener, and I'm very glad that you give me just a few minutes of your time. Did you see the story about Maryland State Police putting activists' names on terror watch lists? Did you read about that? Maybe you, my listener, need to have an open records request to the Department of Safety up in Nashville and ask if that agency has done the same thing. Who was put on the list? Well, folks such as the Maryland Campaign to End the Death Penalty and the Baltimore Pledge of Resistance. Also, I believe anti-nuclear groups were involved in this. About 50 activists had their names put by state police on terror watch lists. These people, they're just so good. They're so caring about us. They're so interested in our security. This is, of course, according to a report in the Washington Post. Again, no due process. How is it that you end up on a watch list like that? Well, I think if we work on local economy, a lot of these problems will solve themselves. But we have to be dedicated We have to be principled, and I think we need to give time to our families, give time to our wives and our children, and stop sucking on that tit with all that milk coming out of it.
Expect a breezy and wet start to your Monday with showers and thunder showers marching through, diminishing after lunchtime, highs lower to middle 60s. Tonight,